Hi, it's John Adams, and I'm the Public Crusader. What the hell is happening in this country? Something deeply rotten is happening between Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and his government and the Australian Securities and Investments Commission. Time and again, when something controversial happens or when there's an opportunity to provide pressure and scrutiny and transparency over ASIC, Labor is taking the opposite position. In an early video last month, I documented who is Labor protecting. When it came to the inquiry that was voted on the 27th of October last year, every member of the Australian Senate voted for an inquiry into ASIC's performance when it comes to investigations. And why? Because I wrote a devastating 2-volume report showing that ASIC's performance is basically shit. When it came to the release of a report into the current Deputy Chair, Karen Chester, every single person in the Senate wanted that report to be released. They want to know about this $200,000 secret investigation, and yet the only political party that voted against the release of that report was Labor. And even though the Senate voted for the release of the report, guess what happened? The Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, claimed public interest immunity to block the release of that report. Now we have a new scandal, and the new scandal is that the Financial Regulation Assessment Authority has had its funding slashed, meaning that rather than doing reviews every 2 years into ASIC, they're now doing reviews into ASIC every 5 years. So the last review started in July of 2021 and it concluded in June of 2022. And that review looked at some very narrow parts of ASIC's operations. The next review was supposed to happen in July of this year. And dare I say that the speculation in the media was that that review was going to look at enforcement. So what is the result of the announcement in the budget? The result is that the next review into ASIC by this Financial Regulation Assessment Authority is actually going to be in July of 2026 and not July of 2023. So here we have this body that was created by the Banking Royal Commission by Justice Hayne. This body was supposed to be comprising of professionals that were going to keep pressure on ASIC and APRA to do their job and to ensure that systemic poor performance can be addressed. And rather than keeping with faith with the Banking Royal Commission, Labor has done ASIC a favor by basically pushing out the next review, reducing the amount of transparency, reducing the amount of accountability. And the question that has to be asked, why? Why is it that Labor is continually doing things to protect ASIC for ASIC's performance that happened before the last election, when Labor was not in power, when the coalition was in power? Why is it that there is some sort of secret agenda going on in this country and we can't get to the truth? As I revealed in my bombshell show about a month ago, last April, I went to ASIC with a 600-page report of alleged misconduct in which I told ASIC that there is systemic criminality happening across this country. I called for an investigation, and even though the chances of getting an investigation was only 0.3%, ASIC complied with my request because the evidence was too strong, and they commenced an investigation. That investigation is still ongoing till today. It's been more than 10 months, and we don't know what ASIC has done. But the only thing that I do know is that during the last 10 and a half months, who has stuck their nose in the middle of the investigation? None other than Prime Minister Albanese. And why did he do it? We honestly don't know. I have my suspicions, but those suspicions can't be proven yet. The one thing that I can tell people is that last month I was able to go across the Albanese government and lodge a series of freedom of information requests. And some of that information is starting to come back to me, but it's far too early to know what is the true state of this so-called investigation that ASIC says that they are doing, particularly given the activities of the Prime Minister. But the important thing we have to focus on is that we have an inquiry happening in the Australian Senate now at the Senate Economics References Committee. Over 160 submissions have been accepted and published. We have seen horror story after horror story where ASIC has failed to do their job, or in some instances where they dropped a nuclear bomb on the wrong target. It is a organization that requires further review, further fixing, and rather than actually coming to grips that ASIC is fundamentally broken and that it needs a complete overhaul in order to protect Australians from financial crime, the Albanese government has basically taken the foot off the accelerator. And why? What is Labor so scared of? What has ASIC got that they can use as leverage against the ALP? That is the big question. People in my own camp think it's a conspiracy theory when I say, well, perhaps ASIC and the Prime Minister has come to some sort of deal. It could just well be that Labor is attempting to protect ASIC in exchange for ASIC protecting the Prime Minister. That is possible. It's possible. I'm going to pursue this line of inquiry until we get to the bottom of what is going on inside this Labor government and why are they doing so many sweetheart deals for ASIC. What's happening in ASIC generally, and why has their performance over the last 11 years continued to decline year after year after year? And more importantly, what is happening to my package? What has happened to my 600-page complaint in which I said thousands of people may be at risk of financial harm? Where is ASIC on all of these matters? Why is only one political party in the Australian Parliament trying to protect the cops when everyone else says that the cops are fundamentally broken? Something deep is happening inside this government, and I'm not going to let it go. In July of this year, the National Anti-Corruption Commission will be established. If I need to push the nuclear button and go to that commission and put all the facts on the table and say that there is something fundamentally wrong in Canberra, I will do it. I have invested too much time and too much money in pursuit of truth and justice to be told by the elite that I need to look the other way and allow ASIC to be protected by a government that potentially could be compromised. It is a devastating development for all those people, particularly those who have participated in the ASIC inquiry, to see this new development, this new step by Labor in terms of reducing the amount of transparency and accountability vis-a-vis ASIC. No doubt this decision will be scrutinized in the next fortnight when Senate estimates comes on, and no doubt this decision will be a feature of the ongoing ASIC inquiry when public hearings start sometime in July. For now, I am going to continue to be on the case. We are pursuing multiple lines of inquiry, multiple lines of attempting to receive documents from the government about my package, about the ASIC inquiry, about me. And if those documents reveal something sinister, we will be taking the matter forward. I am John Adams, and I am the Public Crusader.